No! Marius, don't you dare! But the yelling was useless. The vortex had vanished and left the two angels stranded on the other side. Pounding the ground until his hands hurt and bled, he kept screaming. You can't just leave me here! You said we will make it together! Dean! Michael spoke from behind him, still sitting on the table. He's gone. He can't hear you. The voice was warm and compassionate, and Dean knew Michael was feeling just as much guilt and as much grief as he himself did. Staggering to the occultist, Michael attempted to help him up. He left me. Dean choked as the tears took over. Michael held him like a father trying to calm his son. I know the pain, Dean. It grieves me to see you like that. No one can ever forgive me the sin of involving you two. I can't take it anymore, Michael. They all leave me, and I stand here like a useless idiot. It took the both of them hours to find the strength to look for a way out of the complex. Michael told him that all mirrors had been destroyed when Marius had fled, yet upon searching every room they found one large specimen of the reflective surfaces. Inanna wouldn't have left the paths to her lair destroyed. She probably planned to repair them. Do you think it works? The angel asked. He was walking very slowly, and Dean had to support him in his exhausted state. Dean attempted to reach through the glass. Seeing his plan succeed, his heart leapt from the relief, for he wouldn't have known how to gather the strength to walk all the way back through the ruins. Dean felt the dampness of Inanna's complex fall off his shoulders when they found themselves on the other side. The path led into an old mansion. A man was sitting in front of his dinner, and a heavy rain hit the window's glass with the sound of a whip hitting the air. As soon as he noticed the two escaped prisoners, he reached for his cane and drew his blade. You go back to where you came from, the older man barked at them, and Dean saw the same glint on the blade that had marked Johnson's sword as the weapon of an angel. Michael must have noticed as well, for he made short work of it. Spreading his wings like a bird trying to intimidate his prey, he grabbed the man by his collar. Make me, he hissed at the attacker and took away the man's weapon. Ramming his knee into the stranger's guts, he turned back to the mirror. Don't! Dean interrupted when the archangel raised the blade to destroy the mirror. Michael halted but shot Dean a questioning glance. There are still weapons of the dead angels in there. And even if you destroy the mirror, the entrance through the ruins remains. I think you should take care of that before closing the path forever. Very well. He turned around to the man lying on the ground, still gasping from the pain. I'll be back for you, Michael said, with his eyes already smiting the mortal with divine justice, but the fury had disappeared as swiftly as it had come. Dean felt his legs give in. He was tired. He only wanted to go home. Come, Michael held out his hand. I'll bring you home. The moment the occultist took the hand, they both landed with the crashing of thunder on the grass in front of his house. It was late in the evening, and the stars were the only source of light, but inside Dean saw the flickering candles. Melissa was waiting for him to return. He didn't know how, but the moment he wanted to knock, the door sprang open, revealing blonde hair and bloodshot blue eyes. Dean! His wife exclaimed with tears in her eyes. All the man could do was fall asleep in her embrace. Dean woke up in his bed. He just kept laying there as the recent events unfolded in his mind with all the vividness one needed to remember the loss of a friend. They were gone. Still feeling sore, he slumped into the kitchen. The 3 other members of his family already ate breakfast. He sat down, barely noticing his surroundings. He heard Emily call out and ran up to him. He smiled weakly at her but said nothing. Melissa told him that Michael had returned to heaven. She asked what had happened. She asked about Marius, but Dean couldn't bring himself to answer. Static was the only thing his ears could hear. The occultist vaguely noticed when his daughters went outside to play, encouraged by their mother. "Dean!" she yelled at him, causing him to snap out of his trance. He looked at her. Confusion and worry mingled in her expression. "Forgive me," he only managed to say when he felt fresh tears well up. "They are all gone, my love. I couldn't save them. Just as I couldn't save Nate." Coming closer, she embraced him. "Oh, Dean, I'm so sorry." He wanted to stop his awful crying, but he couldn't, especially not after he felt her compassionate warmth, which encouraged his feelings to run wild. But the worst part came when Emily came up to him at noon, asking what had become of the two angels she had grown so fond of. "Won't Uncle Merolias come?" Another dagger pierced his heart at the innocent question. But he forced himself to smile in a carefree manner. "He's gone, Emily." "You mean—" Her eyes grew big. "He died?" "No, oh no, no." He quickly reassured her. "He didn't die, he has just gone away." "But he will come back, won't he?" His daughter continued her begging. "And what about Azazel?" "He can't have gone. He wanted to look for his true love." Dean sighed heavily. How was he supposed to explain that to a little girl? To his little girl, of all things. So he did what every father would have done. He drew her close and embraced her while keeping back his tears. "Daddy, are you sad?" she asked after a while. "I am, my little sunshine." "Then you have to call Merolias. You have magic, you must call him to make you better, like he always does." It was the moment Dean realized he wasn't able to give up on his friends. He would never be able to give up on them as long as he knew they could still be alive, somewhere. A new fire flamed up inside his soul at the thought, and the blaze carried his mind to heights where he would find a spell to open the vortex again. "I think you are right," he uttered, making Emily smile at her small triumph in curing his apathy. He was Dean Calderwood. He was Aiden's son and one of the greatest occultists at the time, and he would be damned if he wouldn't be able to find that bloody spell to save his friends. Year upon year, Dean worked and searched and tried to find a spell to summon Time herself. When he wasn't out and working, he was in his study. Melissa, Emily, and Kathleen only rarely managed to drag him out of his magical studies, and even then, he had difficulties to be present in mind and body. They often commented on his tired and worn appearance, which had come with the devotion to his penance. He went to Romania and to Nessa, to everyone he hoped to be of any help, but none had ever been involved in such abstract workings. Dean had even managed to track down Michael, who never came to visit him. The occultist assumed it to be the result of the guilt the Archangel was feeling towards Dean and the world in general. The Englishman, however, wasn't looking for someone to blame. He wanted his friends back. He wanted his family back, because he knew not just he suffered from the loss. There were 3 other people who had depended on Merolias, and perhaps started to depend on Azazel. He owed it to them and to the 2 angels to do whatever was in his power to get them home, for it didn't feel like home when not everyone was there. In the end, he was confident to have found the right summoning circle for Time. He had changed a few symbols, but essentially he had oriented himself on Death's summoning spell. Azazel had, after all, mentioned that Time was as abstract as Death. The last 3 variations of the Grim Reaper's spell had failed. Rolling up the rug that still reminded the man of Nathaniel, he drew the symbol on the wooden floor beneath with chalk. Placing his hands on the ground, the circle glowed. It had to work this time. White light suddenly blinded him, and hope flamed up when he saw sparks of blue and red. When Dean opened his eyes, he saw someone standing in the circle. "Is that how you greet a lady? By sitting on the ground? Interesting." Dean quickly got up at the amused voice from the woman he assumed to be Time. No. He stammered. He didn't believe his eyes. Time's hair was as black as death's. She wore a dark red Victorian dress of a lady and the fitting cape and hat in a deep icy blue. Her eyes gave the impression of an eternal being, and yet she was wearing the expression of someone living in the present. Like he had seen it when Azazel had wheeled Time's vortex, one of her eyes was red, the other blue. Dean gaped in astonishment until she smirked at him, still amused about his behavior. "And what is your name, my boy? Or should I call you Time-Catcher? Because you are the very first in eons to accomplish that." No, I'm Dean. Dean Calderwood, my lady. Are you—" "I am Time, indeed." She let her folded umbrella circle vertically through the air before leaning on it. She reminded Dean of death in some strange way, although she was almost the complete opposite of him. Her eyes glimmered with excitement as she observed the thinking Dean. "I need your help." He finally spilled the beans. "I know." She grinned, satisfied by his boldness. "When you opened your vortex, 2 of my friends got trapped in the realm beyond time. You need to open it one more time, I beg you." Time regarded him for a moment, visibly debating the whole thing. "The deal is done. Our business was conducted years ago. Well, for you it was years ago. He gave you back part of yourself." Dean couldn't prevent angry despair from tainting his voice. "And I vanquished his enemies," she replied as a matter of factly. For a moment silence ruled the room in which they had only stared at each other. Time was just as indifferent to the mortal plane as death. "What will you give me?" she added after the pause. "Everything. Anything. Take me in their stead." He stuttered, unable to fathom the sudden compassion displayed by Time. "You are but one." She raised her index finger to emphasize the number. "How about your girls?" "I can't let my children suffer from my mistakes." "That is too bad indeed." A curtain of fire and ice enveloped her. "No, wait!" But Time only laughed. "Don't bother calling me again, Dean Calderwood. My rules are the same as his." "No! Take me!" Dean sank down as his only chance slipped through his fingers. He had thrown away his one chance because he had been too foolish, too bold, too inexperienced. He had doomed his friends. Wrath seized him at his own uselessness. He got up, threw books to the ground, emptied his table and kicked the chair, which fell backwards to the floor. When Melissa came into his room, worried by all the ruckus, he was lying on the rug Nathaniel had died on. The book containing Marily's spell was next to him on the ground. Ink, paper and candles lay strewn through the room. It was utter chaos, as if a storm had raged in the room, and he had been in the eye of it. He had been the eye of it. But Dean didn't care. Numb in body and mind, he lay there staring at the ceiling. He had failed them all.